welcome to episode 3 of the Star Wars Podcast Racer. I'm Tyler, and I have no guest. I am sorry. I meant to have a guest. That's why I didn't do it last week. I was supposed to have a guest, and they were delayed. I'm like, I'll just wait and do it afterwards. They still haven't shown up. So, I guess we're doing it off the dome once again. So, it's just me once more. So, again, I can't do my planned topic, so we're going to do something a little different. I'm just going to babble. I say different and babble. I guess that's the exact same thing I did before. But I'm going to be babbling about the timeline. There is so in Star Wars, there is, of course, a timeline of events that happened. Not just, like, for the movies, but in-universe, things that have not been covered by books, comics, and movies. And, of course, things that were covered by books, comics, and movies. And in each of the timelines, there's, like, different eras and everything like that. Now, there are 2 canons. There's the original pre-Disney canon and then the current post-Disney canon. There is some overlap, of course. The first 6 movies are the same in both. Most of the Clone Wars animated series is also the same. I believe through 6. Definitely seasons 1 through 5 in the old canon. I believe also 6. Or at least it should. Because it was produced before Disney bought it. But then it was released after. So maybe they don't count it. But then again, they don't really care about the old canon nowadays anyways. They just slap a legend sticker on it and sell it. Wow, I'm rambling about things that I said I was going to ramble about later. Anyways, what I'm trying to say here is that there are 2 canons, but the timelines are basically the same here. And not necessarily for the events, but for the eras. So, let me explain. By going all the way back to the beginning. The very, very beginning. So, roughly around 20... Oh, okay, actually, I should, before I start, I need to explain also the calendar system, I suppose. Not really the in-universe calendar system, but like the calendar system we use for Star Wars. And that's the Battle of Yavin as the epoch of everything. So the Battle of Yavin, which if you don't know is, of course, the final battle of the original Star Wars, Episode 4, New Hope. That is the central location. So everything is either going to be before the Battle of Yavin or after the Battle of Yavin. So about 25,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, the Jedi Order was created. There's a lot to it. In the current canon, we don't know anything, basically. Well, we know very little, I should say. The old canon, there was a lot more. I'll get to that in a sec. But what we do know for sure right now is that about 20 to 25,000 years ago, the Jedi Order was created. And around the same time was also when the Sith Order was created as like a rival sect. And the Old Republic was also created as a basically alliance between star systems. Because that's around the same time that hyperspace was discovered. / created. That's kind of a complicated thing. But yeah, once that was there, then it was a lot easier to travel through hyperspace lanes between planets, so more easily able to organize and police things. It's a whole thing. So the main thing with the Old Republic era, now here's the thing, the Old Republic era is actually my favorite era of Star Wars. But in the modern canon, there is absolutely no stories that have taken place there. And it is very frustrating for me. I have waited for, I guess at this point, it's now, about 11 years now, I think, since the canon's shifted. I've been waiting for more official stories set in that era, and there have not been in the new canon. Plenty in the old canon, though. Some that are still being updated, because the Old Republic MMO is still being updated. And yeah, of course I play it. Now I'm just getting sad. Anyways, what I was trying to say was that during this time period, it was kind of a Wild West of sorts. Because, yes, the Galactic Republic, or the Old Republic, I should say, the Old Republic does exist. It is kind of spreading and trying to keep peace, but it doesn't have the same power that it would, of course, during the time of the prequel trilogy. It's a lot looser of a alliance between these planets. And there's a lot of times when the planets will just kind of break off, do their own thing, a lot of wars going on. And of course there's the Sith. The Sith are a full order here. In the Skywalker saga, we know that there are only 2 Sith at once. That's the Order of 2, which I'll get to later. But yeah, that came about later. Initially, it is a full order of Sith. So you will have these stories where there are a whole bunch of Jedi and a whole bunch of Sith running around the galaxy fighting each other. It's great. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of wonderful stories and things that have been created in this era. Only in the original canon, though. Still nothing in the current canon. Ugh, that is going to frustrate me until they finally open up that era for more stories. I don't know what they're doing. I do know they're working on a Knights of the Old Republic remake. But they've been working on that for like 5 years or something like that at this point. Like, just come on, guys. Just poop or get off the pot, you know? Ugh. Anyways, it is my favorite era. It's a lot of fun. And basically, for around 19,000 years or so, the Jedi and the Sith were in pretty constant turmoil. There would be centuries here and there where they just don't fight. There's some peace. But inevitably, like sometimes the Sith, it seems like the Sith went away. Sometimes it seemed like the Jedi went away. Inevitably, though, each one would return and keep fighting the other for around 19,000 years. And then, about 1,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, there was a final victory for the Jedi and the Republic. So, the Jedi finally had complete victory over the Sith. The Sith Order was completely wiped out. There were no more Siths, except for one, though they didn't realize that. One Sith survived, went into hiding. And with that, there was no more competition for the Republic either. The Old Republic reorganized into the Galactic Republic, which is basically exactly the same, but we have to differentiate between them because we have to cover a plot hole. If you don't know, in the original Star Wars movie, Obi-Wan says that the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic for over 1,000 generations. Meanwhile, in the prequels, Palpatine says that the Republic has been around for 1,000 years. Those are very different things. So they have to kind of explain, like, okay, technically this Republic has only been here for 1,000 years, but the Republic in general has been here for like 20,000. So yeah, that's just kind of a fun thing there. But so yeah, the Old Republic era is that. The next era, from 1,000 years before Battle of Yavin to about 100 years before, is what is called the High Republic. Now, in the old canon, you generally won't see this separated as a different era. It will just kind of usually be counted. It'll either usually be counted as the Old Republic era or as like the prequel era. But it's nowadays in the current canon, it is very much its own separate era. I mean, it always was like in the history of things. It's just that there weren't really any specific stories being told during this era regularly in the old canon. So with the current canon, they made an initiative to really flesh this era out. And it's been pretty cool, the High Republic stuff. So basically, during this era, the Sith are seemingly destroyed. In reality, they're in hiding. See, what happened is is Darth Bane, the last remaining Sith, decided that the problem with the Sith Order was that it was an order with tons and tons of Sith. Because the Sith are all about trying to gain power. So they were constantly backstabbing each other, and it just wouldn't work having a full order of Sith. So instead, 2 Sith, a master and apprentice. That way because the master needs the help of the apprentice, so not going to want to like backstab the apprentice if he doesn't need to. Meanwhile, the apprentice needs to learn from a master, so you're not going to try to overthrow the master until you know everything. So it kind of keeps balance to some degree there. Obviously, it's the Sith, so there are still issues with that, but it basically worked for 1,000 years there. So anyways, that's what's going on with the Sith. They are completely in hiding, not a part of the galactic scene at all. And so because of that, the Republic is at its golden era. The Republic is as big and as great as it ever will be. And the Jedi Order is absolutely blooming. They are at their peak. And they're not that it's complete, like, there's nothing going on. There definitely is things going on. But it's a lot more like localized or like natural disaster type stuff. There isn't any galactic war that's happening. There's some really, really cool stories here. Definitely recommend the High Republic stories. It's not my favorite era because, like I said, mine's the Old Republic era, but it is really cool seeing like the aesthetics and just how many different kinds of Jedi there really could be back then. Because by the time of the prequels, they kind of were a little bit... well, they were corrupted. Or not like corrupted, but they were... They weren't at their peak during the prequels. And there was a little bit of corruption, sort of. I guess it's more stagnation than corruption. And that's a whole other thing I could get into. I might at some point. I probably will do a podcast episode about that at some point. But as for right now, back to the timeline. So after the High Republic era is, of course, the prequel era. Sometimes it's called different things, like the Age of the Republic or the Age of the Jedi. But all you really need to know that, yeah, this is the Clone Wars era, the prequel era. There you go. I don't think I need to explain this one. This is the one where Emperor Palpatine secretly rises to power. And I said Emperor Palpatine secretly rises to power. Palpatine secretly rises to power and becomes the Emperor as he rebrands the the Galactic Republic into the Galactic Empire. That's when the Jedi are all destroyed, just about, with only a handful really surviving. And, Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. You guys know the story. I'm just explaining Star Wars at this point. And, of course, there is kind of depending on who you ask and how they list it, there is sort of another era here. I kind of like to go from, like, like the prequel era to the older or to the original trilogy era. Like I kind of like think of them connected like that. Technically speaking, though, there is about 19 years between movies. So a lot of times you'll see that an era of the reign of the Empire, especially nowadays. They'll put like the reign of the Empire in between, which makes sense. Of course, there's not really like a lot going on like big picture story wise, because it's just the Empire ruling with an iron fist and everybody hating it. I guess in the background, of course, the rebels are all organizing. They become the Alliance and all that good stuff. And then it's the original trilogy, the full rebellion, defeat of the Empire, Palpatine dies, all that wonderful stuff. And then it's the New Republic era. And yes, it's the New Republic era in both continuities, both canons. The old canon and the new canon, it's the New Republic era right at this point. Now, I will say that the New Republic era looks very different in both canons. But it is nice that the New Republic era is the same. The timeline wise, it's the same. Again, if I'm talking about what happens during here, it's going to be different on both canons. But broad strokes, you have the rebellion reorganizing itself into the New Republic. Growing pains as that happens, having to deal with the Imperial remnants and Imperial warlords that are still trying to hold on to power despite the fact that the Empire as a whole is defeated, and you have Luke Skywalker attempting to rebuild the Jedi Order from scratch. That's about it when it comes to similarities, and I don't want to just explain everything that happens because that's not what this is. And also, we don't really know everything that happens in the current canon, because that story is still being told currently, especially on the Disney Plus series. The Mandalorian is in the New Republic era, so is the Ahsoka series, and Skeleton Crew. Now I'm just listing series. Point is, we're still the story's still being told, so I can't really comment too much more in that regard. I can tell you what happens in the old canon, though. Again, there's a lot. I can't go over everything, but I can tell you kind of how it ends, because it leads into this is where things get different. So, in the old canon, after the New Republic era is the New Jedi Order era. I'll be 100% honest, I don't really know why it's called that. I know broad strokes what happens here, but I have never read all of the New Jedi Order books. I don't really know why they're called the New Jedi Order from what I have heard and read myself, but again, I haven't read all of it, so maybe there was a good explanation that I just am missing. But basically, here's what happens. There's the Yuuzhan Vong are these aliens from outside of the galaxy. They're from outside of the Star Wars galaxy. So about I think it's around 25 years after the Battle of Yavin. Maybe it's 30. It might be closer to 30. Oof. I want to say around 25 though. They invade the galaxy. And they are actually they live outside the Force, so the Jedi are kind of screwed against them. They can't really do much. They're a warrior race. The New Republic was not ready for them, and basically the Yuuzhan Vong start this massive war and just really devastate the New Republic. In fact, the New Republic's gone. Basically, by the end of the New Jedi Order, the New Republic is gone. They have to create a brand new system of government that they call the Galactic Alliance. And basically that's all the New Jedi Order era is, just this massive war where a lot of people die, including Chewbacca, which is horribly sad. So is Anakin Solo, who is Leia. I almost said Luke and Leia's. Oh no, Leia and Han's youngest son. He also dies. Things don't go well for them. After the Yuuzhan Vong War, after the New Jedi Order era, the final era in the old canon is the Legacy era. And this covers basically everything that's left, of course. So some major stuff that happens here is the Second Galactic Civil War, where I almost said Luke and Leia's again. Holy cow! No. Leia and Han's oldest son. I should say, in the old canon, they had 3 kids. Twins, Jason and Jaina, and then the youngest son, Anakin. So Jason turns to the dark side. Big time. Takes control of the Imperial Remnant still. He goes to war against his parents and his uncle and all of his old friends. And it's very sad. I haven't read all of the books, but I have read the first book, the middle book, and the last book. So I kind of know what happens, broad strokes. There's some really sad stuff that happens in it. I should say, sad if you have read all of these other books. Because that's kind of the thing. There have been so many books in the old canon that by the time you get there and you see Jason turn to the dark side, like, this is a character that you have seen grown up, that you've loved, who's been a massive hero. In fact, he was the hero of the Yuuzhan Vong War. And now he has become the galaxy's greatest enemy, the greatest villain. And it's sad. It's supposed to be sad. It's also kind of frustrating, but that's a whole other thing. After that, though, of course, Jason's defeated. Jaina actually ends up having to take out her own brother. Again, Han and Leia just do not catch a break when it comes to their kids. After that is the Fate of the Jedi series, and I don't remember the rest. I actually never read any of those books. So like the final books of that era, like we get to like 40 years after the Battle of Yavin and stuff, and I it's not that I didn't care about that. I just never got around to reading it, and then the canon changed, and it's like, well, why bother? There is more that happens later in that timeline, though, because there is a comic series called Legacy, and the Legacy series is, I think it goes up, is it 100 or 150 years after? I want to say it's 150, but it might be 100 years after the Battle of Yavin. So far off in the future, basically. Well, okay, not like far, far, far off, but like comparatively far off into the future. Like Luke and Leia and Han and all of them are long dead. It's... I've only read like the first arc of that comic series, but it's basically a descendant of Luke. Once again has to become a Jedi, defeat the evil Empire. It's like, okay, yeah, it's Star Wars. Like, things are just gonna keep going on and on and on, never ends. Which is honestly, it's kind of sad when you stop and think about it. It's like, when is the evil Sith going to actually end? But whatever. That's the old canon, right? The new canon is a little different because after the new Jedi Order, after the New Republic era in the new canon, it's the era of the sequel trilogies, like the First Order. I don't want to talk about it too much because I have my own thoughts about that whole stuff, and I also know there's a couple people who haven't watched the sequel trilogy yet, but plan to, that might be listening to this. So I don't want to spoil it just in case. But basically what you need to know is the New Republic's destroyed, and once again they need to rebuild a new system of government. However, I don't know what system of government, because after episode 9, they just have not gone any further. So I don't know how things happen. We believe, though, that based off of what things have been said, that basically the era after the First Order era is going to be the new Jedi Order era, where Rey is building a new Jedi Order. So hopefully we'll see that someday. I don't have much to say else to say there. So yeah, I guess it was just kind of like a history lesson of sorts, of where I just talk about the different eras. This is a terrible podcast. I don't know why people listen. I just babble about things that I like. I guess some people might enjoy that. But yeah, I really do love the Old Republic era, and I'm really hoping that the that Disney will start telling some stories there. Gosh dang it. I want more Old Republic. No, you know what? Actually, I gotta say this. You notice how I've, like, everything that I've said, like, basically everything before the only split in the timeline, basically, broad strokes, was the New Jedi Order stuff, or was the New Republic stuff onward. Because while they both had a New Republic era, the New Republic eras were very different. But before that, everything before that was very, very similar. So why did Disney have to wipe away all of the Old Republic era? Like, there were so many amazing comics and books and games, and especially games, that took place in that era. And you didn't have to wipe them all away. You could have still said they happened. Re-release the books with new covers. Re-release the comics with slightly different artwork or something. I don't know. Remaster the games. Give me more KOTOR. I love Knights of the Old Republic. It's frustrating. I want to be positive on here. That was my goal with this podcast, is to be positive. And in general, I am positive, but it still is frustrating when something seems so obvious and then the people that are in charge just can't seem to see it. Whatever. That's not that important. So I guess we'll stop here. It's about, roughly around a 30-minute episode or so, where I just ramble. I don't want this just to be the Tyler Rambles podcast. I really do want to have guests on here where we can have more structured content. That is my goal. It was my goal that I thought was going to be here by episode 2, and here we are, episode 3. Episode 3 being released around the time I was going to release an episode 4, and we still don't have it. Oh well. I'm kind of sad tonight. This has nothing to do with Star Wars. I'm just kind of sad tonight. Sorry if this ruined the podcast episode somehow. I don't know. I'm sure it ruined as soon as I opened my mouth. The soda's flat. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. I hope you found something to enjoy. I know I'm not great at this, and I'm sure I don't have the technical skills and whatever. But you know what? It makes me happy doing this. So even when I'm sad, I love talking about Star Wars, and I hope you guys like listening about Star Wars. So I will have an episode next week. I promise you, I will. Again, I don't generally have a structure to this, but I will. I do have plans for the next 2 weeks. So we will continue. Hopefully we'll keep getting better. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. And may the Force be with you.